Danielle, please call the roll.
Yes. Mayor Miller,
Here.
Mr. Self,
Here.
Mr. Lopez,
Here.
Mr. Robinson,
Here.
Mr. Merrick.
Here.
And Ms. Cordova.
Here.
And me, I'm here too. I didn't hear you call my name.
Oh, I did.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Well, I was doing something else over here. Okay, if you'll please stand, Veronica will lead us in the invocation and I'll lead us in the pledges.
Bow heads with me. Heavenly Father, we ask that you enter into our meeting and give us sound mind to make decisions that are pleasing to you. We want to thank you for the continued rain that we have received, and we ask that you bring more our way. We want to keep our 2 council members that are traveling today in our hearts and thoughts, that they have safe travels up and back. And we'd also like to pray for Mr. Rackler, who has had a surgery and a procedure for his knees, that you lay your healing hands upon him. In your heavenly name we pray, amen.
Join me in the pledges, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zenith symbol of perfect friendships among united cultures. Thanks, everyone, and welcome here today. Our next item is public comment, and we have absolutely no one signed up for public comment tonight, so we will proceed then into our minutes of the previous meeting held July 16th. Hopefully you've had a chance to review those minutes. If there are no corrections or additions or deletions, I would take a motion for approval.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Robinson, second by Mr. Self. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and thank you. We better do a roll call since we have Eldon on Zoom.
All right. Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
Motion passes. We'll move on to action items. Our first item is a public hearing for approval of application for 7-Eleven Inc., DBA 7-Eleven Stores number 42458 at 1201 North Chicago for the transfer of ownership of retail liquor license number 4069. I need a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Robinson. Please call the roll.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
Okay, we are now in a public hearing. I'll first call on those that may be in the audience or on Zoom that would like to speak in favor of this liquor license transfer. Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition of this liquor license transfer? Okay, seeing none, then we will take action to close the public hearing. I need a motion to do so.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Cordova, motion, Mr. Self seconded. Once again, roll call, please.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins is absent, sorry, and Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. Our next item is public hearing for approval of application for 7-Eleven Inc., DBA 7-Eleven store number 42513 at 1729 South Avenue D for the transfer of ownership of retail liquor license number 4056. Once again, I need a motion to enter into that public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Robinson, second by Mr. Self. We're gonna wear you out with roll calls tonight, Danielle.
That's all right. Okay. Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins. Oh, again, sorry, absent. And Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
Okay, we are now in public hearing to discuss the transfer of liquor license number 4056. Anyone in the audience here in support of that transfer or online? Anyone here or online in opposition? Seeing none, take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Cordova, second by Mr. Self. Once again, please call the roll.
Okay. Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
Okay, public hearing is closed. Now then, we need to take action on the application for the transfer of liquor license number 4056. Are there any other questions or discussion? What's the pleasure of the council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Cordova to approve, second by Mr. Robinson. Please call the roll.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
That motion passes. Thank you. Next item is approval of resolution number 2024-17, authorizing the assignment of authorized officers and agents for project number SAP 21-F2356-STB, groundwater geophysical archaeological survey. Who is addressing this one? Ashley, are you online?
Yes, sir, I am.
Would you like to explain this resolution, please?
Well, since we've had so many turnover with the staff and stuff, all this is just to update the resolution so we can submit in reimbursements for the geophysical grant that we received, and we still have funding available in that. And we just need to put the proper people and positions for to be able to sign on the grant.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Flores?
So is this to finish out the survey, or is this for work that are a combination of to also receive the funds that we've already done some of the work out there at the well field?
Yes. It was for the geophysical and archaeological survey. The available funds was 330,000, and right now we have 166,000 on standstill due to the fact of not having the authorized signatures for the grant.
So it is for reimbursement, correct?
Yes.
That answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions?
This is for the geophysical survey that we have not completed yet.
Well, it was intended for the geophysical survey, but it was also utilized for the archaeological survey.
Right. And that part already has been done.
Yes.
Further questions? Pleasure to council.
I move that we approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve resolution 2024-17. Any other discussion? Ms. Swope, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Folks, I need to go back to item 1C. We did not take action on application for the transfer of ownership of retail liquor license number 4069. The first public hearing that we had on that. So I need a motion to approve or whatever.
I'll make a motion to approve liquor license number 4069.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Self, a second by Mr. Robinson for the approval of the transfer of ownership for retail liquor license number 4069. Apologize for that skipping over. So Ms. Swopes, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
Thank you, Chief, for that reminder. All right, we'll go back down to the items under water. Our second item under that is approval of resolution number 2024-18 for authorizing and approving submission of a completed application for financial assistance and project approval to the New Mexico Finance Authority. Ms. Flores.
Yes. Sorry, I don't have the agenda right in front of me.
This is on the resolution for a completed resolution for financial assistance project approval to the Finance Authority. I don't know what that's for.
This one's
For lead service line.
inventory.
For the lead and copper, okay. Yes. So, we're getting awarded as long as we can get the application turned in and submitted by August 26th. We can get up to $2.5 million in a loan to proceed with the lead and copper project.
Any questions for Ms. Flores?
Mr. Mayor.
And-
I have one.
Go ahead, Ms. Rose.
Actually, is there any complication coming up in how to not to, so you can make the deadline? Stop you from making that deadline?
As of right now, no, I have all the information that is needed. I just need to get the resolution updated and approved for the NMFA to be able to process for the application and to move forward with the loan process.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Question, you're saying a loan, what are the terms or what? Nobody's explained that it was a loan. Or can somebody explain that to me?
Yes, just give me one moment. So with it being a loan, we are eligible to be at a disadvantaged community in regards to transitioning that loan from 60% grant, 40% loan, and then we just have to make the adjustments from there to be able to finalize that loan, but it does proceed as a loan from the start.
That sound like.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I was gonna ask, does that mean that it's gonna change from a loan to another status,
To have grown.
to a
A
grant?
grant loan. Yeah,
Okay.
60% grant, then 40% loan.
Okay,
Mr. Merritt?
Yeah, the 40% loan, what's the repayment terms and interest?
As of right now, I'm still pretty much learning as much as I can on the lead and copper. It just came across my desk and I'm just trying to get everything taken care of for that. But as of right now, once it gets, we get the award letter, it'll give the breakdown of everything after that.
What's the deadline for applying for this?
I have till August 26th.
We have another meeting before then.
Yes,
Um,
I agree with you. We need to find out what the terms are, what we're biting off
exactly.
before we move on. So Ashley, you need to find that. And I think at this point in time, we should pass over this and put it on the next agenda.
I agree.
Can we do that, Ashley?
That's fine.
Okay. So I'll take a motion to table this item until our next regular meeting.
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Robinson, a second by Mr. Lopez. Is there any objection to the tabling motion? Seeing none, this item will be brought back at our next meeting with more information. Thank you. Let's move on to item 3, which is approval of resolution number 2024-19, authorizing the submission of an application for financial assistance to New Mexico Finance Authority for Water Trust Board funding for well food improvement. Funding is based on the adoption or expected adoption of Water Trust Board 2025 resolution. Ashley.
Yeah, so moving forward, we just want to see about utilizing as much grant as we can. And with this one being a 90% grant, 10% loan, speaking with Mr. Mendoza as well as Chief Kathy in regards to moving forward with the well field, to be able to establish as much funds as we can to make to improve whatever what we can with the, I think it was 12 million that we intend on asking for.
So this item's tied to item 5.
One being the well field and one being the storage tanks, yes.
Right, so resolutions 19 and 20 are more or less explained in number 5. So this would be a $12 million loan, an application for a $12 million grant for Blackwater well field improvements. Is that correct?
Yes.
Any other questions?
Is this, are these funds, where's the dollar amount coming from? Is this what was,
The dollar amount is speaking with the engineers in regards to DBSNA as well as Stantec for 2 different projects. And just to be able to utilize as much as we can, especially in the well field, since that's such a large project. And then with storage tanks, after speaking with Stantec today, we feel like we're going to be able to utilize at least 6.5 million to be able to get the tank where it needs to be for the intended projects for the Ute project.
I think to answer your question, Mr. Merrick, it comes from the authorization of the Water Trust Board funding that was approved in the legislature this past year. That's my understanding.
So this is one and the same as what we're already approved for.
For the most part, but they're breaking it down. Okay, is my understanding that internally they've approved up to 20 million for us, but externally we still have to submit specific based on the overall application, which was for well field improvements and storage.
okay. I just thought the way this was presented that it was an additional request.
Is it an additional request over and above our previous request? Because they only allocated so much money per fiscal year out of that. And the way I understand it from the vice chair is they kind of have us in a queue for as we continue. They know down the road what our total needs are, but we have to submit it in pieces. Is that correct, Ashley?
I'm pretty sure as far as everything that I've got from the Water Trust Board, no matter what, we don't have any holdback onto requesting from year to year. So even though we only got the 8.5 million this year, we can always request the following year as long as it doesn't meet exclude to the amount of 15% of the allotted reward.
The initial was the previous fiscal year's request. This is the current request for the next round, the next fiscal year.
Yes.
8 plus the 6. So
Okay,
what
yes,
is- And why is the loan? I guess it's 90-10. Was that the way it was?
the grant is a
initially?
90-10
It was
grant.
90-10 from
Yeah,
the beginning.
it's a
Yes.
90-10 from the beginning.
Question, please.
Yes, sir.
So the tank that you're talking about, is this the Lime Street tank?
Correct.
That's what I was thinking. Okay. It's not an additional tank in the well field yet.
No, that's gonna be intended for the 2025.
Any further questions on this resolution 2419? Pleasure of the council.
I move that we approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Robinson, a second by Mr. Lopez to approve resolution number 2024-19. If there's no further questions, Ms. Wilks, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Self,
I'm gonna say yes, but I would like to know what the loan terms were on there as well.
It'll be 10%. It'll be 10% of the 12 million.
But as far as
That's a match. It's not a loan. It's a match.
it's a
It's a match.
gotcha. Match. Okay, thank you. Yes.
All right,
Okay,
continue with the roll call.
match.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Merritt,
Yes.
and Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
All right. That resolution passes. Number 4 on our agenda under water is approval of resolution 2024-20, authorizing the submission of application for financial assistance to New Mexico Finance Authority for the Water Trust Board funding for water storage improvements. Funding is based on the adoption or expected adoption of Water Trust Board 2025 resolution. And this would actually be the 6.5 million for the rehabilitation of the Lime Street tank. Is that correct, Ashley?
Yes, sir.
We talked about both of them in the last one, but
Mhm.
that's what this one's 6.5 for that rehabilitation.
Correct.
Okay, any questions for Ashley on this resolution 2420? What's the pleasure of the council?
I move we approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Robinson. All those I'm sorry, roll call, please.
Yes. Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
All right, resolution 2420 has passed. Our next item is ratification of a signature from Mayor Miller on the notice of intent for Water Trust Board WPF Water Storage, Conveyance, and Delivery Project. The amount being requested is 12 million for the Blackwater well field improvements and 6.5 million for storage system rehabilitation. What's the pleasure of the council?
I move that we approve this. You know why I'm making all these motions to approve? I'm chair of the Public Works Committee.
Oh, perfect. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lopez. Any questions on this? All right, Ms. Wilks, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
All right. That motion passes. We're done with water. We're gonna move on to finance and CPA. The first is the ratification of the mayor's signature on the municipal opinion of council for Canon Financial Services. Ms. Gamble?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. This is a ratification for the approval of your signature, Mayor, on the municipal opinion of council for CFS. They are the leasing company for the Canon copiers through Hollins. And they're just making sure that council is aware of the contract and they want your signatures, one of your signatures stating that.
I think the obvious first question here, and I'm gonna go ahead and ask it, has this list been reviewed by legal counsel?
I sent it to,
It doesn't have any non-termination.
No, this is a 60-month lease and it has pretty much the same terms in a standard lease that they issue. It sets forth the terms that we're going to apply with. I didn't see anything super, anything really different than a normal 5-year leasing agreement.
But I'm asking, I don't want to get into the situation we got into, we had to deal with last week. Where if something happens and we want to terminate the lease, that we can't terminate the lease.
We can terminate this.
We can?
Yes.
With penalty or? I'm sure there's with some stipulations or.
Yes, there are stipulations in there. We can't just terminate if we have problems or difficulties. We have a right to terminate it.
Any other questions?
We've used them for how long now? Is there a
this
current-
contract started in December of 23.
And no issues that anybody's aware of?
Not
Everybody's
that I'm
happy
aware
with
of.
them?
As we can tell. Further questions? It's a pleasure to council on the ratification of signature on the municipal opinion of council for Canon Financial Services.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Cordova, second by Mr. Self. To approve this. There's no further discussion. Ms. Swope, please call the roll.
Yes, Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
That motion passes. Our next item for Ms. Gamble is ratification of CPO Lisa Gamble signature on addendum for Canon Financial Services for lease agreement between the city of Portales and Canon Financial Services.
And this is, it's an addendum to the lease agreement. Just clarifying some of the items in the actual contract.
Okay. Once again,
And
has
this
Mr.
was-
Dorr reviewed this
Yes, sir.
and we don't have any problems, Mr. Dorr?
I didn't see any problems that were outside of the normal terms of the contract.
Any further questions? Pleasure to council.
I move we approve.
I second.
Motion by Mr. Lopez, a second by Mr. Robinson for approval. Once again, will you please call the roll, Ms. Swoops?
Yes, Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Gamble.
Thank you.
Next is the finance. We've got a couple of things here. I don't know what Liliana's been doing the last few weeks, but our first item is ratification of Finance Department action on bills, expenses, approval for the months of May and June. Ms. Rivera.
Good evening, council. So included in your packet was both months of May and June with the entire report for the month and then a summary report for each month. And I just asked for your approval on this. Stand for any questions on the check reports.
I might note that Mr. Self and Ms. Cordova and our finance committee met on this yesterday. And I believe that they recommended approval by the full council. Yes,
That's
so I'll give anybody that has opportunity or would like to ask some questions to do so.
Seeing that the finance committee read, I move that we approve it.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second by Mr. Robinson, second by Mr. Lopez to approve the bills and expenses for the months of May and June. Ms. Wilkes, please call the roll.
Yes, Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Notice it.
Yes.
and Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. Our next item is approval of resolution number 2024-21, fourth quarter fiscal year 2024 budget adjustments.
So also in your items are the fourth quarter budget adjustments for the fiscal year for FY 24. These budget adjustments are of course necessary to keep some funds from being over budget. We have several adjustments to the general fund to account for changes that have impacted the expenditure budget. Some examples include their salaries in our full-time positions. We also have adjustments to the remaining funds for reimbursements of grant expenditures that occurred through June 30th. You will note the adjustments for those projects in their respective funds. And then these budget adjustments were also presented to our finance committee. And I will stand for any questions on the budget adjustments.
Ms. Cordova or Mr. Self, do you have any comments? Having from the finance committee yesterday?
No, we did have quite a few adjustments that we needed to do just for cleanup purposes and a little bit of housekeeping items, but everything was in budget for all of the accounts.
And maybe for those of you that weren't in finance, because I asked this question yesterday, just to be clear, and I wasn't there, I was on Zoom, that these transfers were internally within the fund, so there wasn't transfers from reserve funds to make this balance. It was just balancing the funds within the fund. That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments?
Once again, we approved this on behalf of the finance committee.
Second.
Or we recommend that the council approve it, but yeah.
Motion?
I didn't make the motion. I can make the motion, but
Would you like to?
I'll make the motion.
Yeah,
Yes.
you approved it.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Self, a second by Mr. Lopez. Is there any further questions or discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I want to say that this format that you presented is 100% improvement from what we've been saying, and it's gonna take me a month to read this. But my point is I like the presentation. It's this is a whole different world up here now. Thank you very much.
Even though I don't understand it, I'm gonna read it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the budget adjustments for wait a minute, where are we at? Yeah, budget adjustments for 2024 fiscal year budget.
Okay. Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
That motion passes. Our next item is approval of resolution 2024-22, fourth quarter fiscal year 2024 final report.
Okay, so that report, Ms. Christine has put on the screen for us. So you can see what I'm referring to, although it is included in your lengthy packet with the recap. You'll see a summary and you'll also see a detail. So plenty of information if you have any questions. Before you is the fourth quarter report. That is, it's a report that we do quarterly, of course. The fourth quarter does come before you for a resolution. The other quarters I will be presenting for information, but this one does require a resolution. This report, as you can see, represents all of the funds for the city with their respective balances as of June 30, 2024. You'll see the adjustment column. This can include adjustments per the balance sheet and can include rounding, any changes in our investments as well. As of June 30, 2024, I know it's kind of hard and small to see, but our general fund had an adjusted balance of just a little over 5.6 million. This amount, of course, includes the investment that is currently in there, which is 2.4, and you'll see that in the investment column. And then also it includes the adjusted balance includes a reserve amount, which is automatically calculated in the system per DFA. Okay. And then as you can see, the other balances on that report, and I'll stand for any questions if there's any questions specifically to any of the other funds.
I'd just like to say thank you for getting this to us. It's been quite some time since we've actually had a report to look over and see our finances, and I'm just happy to see the numbers. I don't know how you keep from going cross-eyed looking at that, but it took me hours to pour through this and just go through it all. So I really appreciate the work that you've done.
Thank you.
You know, Eldon, I appreciate you making that comment because you're right, that we hadn't seen this. And so Liliana had to come in here, and I imagine she's been putting in 18 to 20-hour days, getting all this ready, going back and finding out, you know, why we haven't seen these and where all of this is at. And first of all, it's good to see that we have positive numbers. But I too, and I think all of us appreciate your effort, and we're glad you're on board. So
Thank you.
any other questions with regard to the fourth quarter final report? Okay, what's the pleasure of the council? Once again, this was approved for recommendation for approval by the finance committee yesterday.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I'm going to give Mr. Merrick that second today. So Ms. Cordova made a motion to approve. Mr. Merrick made a second to the motion. I need a roll call vote on a resolution 2422.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. Our next item is a public hearing for approval of the FY 2025 final budget. First item, I need action to enter into a public hearing for consideration of final fiscal year 2025 budget adoption and approval of resolution number 2024-23.
So moved.
Second.
All right, I'm gonna do this a little different. Is there any objection to the motion to go into public hearing? Mr. Merrick, are you in favor of that?
Yes.
Okay, so there's no objection. We'll note that all those present voted for it to do. So we are now in a public hearing. Before I ask for anybody from the public, do you want to give a brief overview of the FY 25 budget, please?
Sure. Okay.
The right one.
Yes. Okay, so this report looks very similar to that quarterly recap report. Of course, this was also included in your packet items with the recap, summary, and detail of everything in that pertains to all the line items. This budget recap report is presented in a format relative to that quarterly. The only difference here is that the revenues and the expenditures are projected amounts, okay? This is a final budget, but we will be working with budget adjustments throughout our fiscal year so that we can get it a better representation of what we have as far as revenues and expenses. I have planned to meet with all department heads and supervisors so that we can work closely to get our budget adjustments in the first quarter, to really have a true picture of our projects and the status on them, to follow up on our revenues and reimbursements. So this represents pretty close to last year. I did make some changes to our debt service funds that you see in there, and then also to account for the law enforcement recruitment and retention funds. And I'll stand for any questions.
So it's my understanding that mainly the only adjustments we made was things that we knew that we were going to get money for, you know, the junior bill or whatever, the grow bill. We got the capital outlay and those sort of things. So those adjustments are in here, correct?
So no, it's not
Okay.
gonna capture all those. We're
Okay.
going to be working off budget adjustments to capture some of this capital outlay money, the grow funds that you're talking about. This just captured what we did have transactions that occurred in FY 24 for the recruitment and retention funds. And then
So,
of our.
and
debt
this kind of
service.
goes back to where Liliana came in. She jumped into a large bonfire. And so we will probably, if I understand it, we'll probably see several budget
Yes.
adjustments during the first quarter. But I think what we see out of this is in the main funds that we do have a decent, besides the required reserve amount, we have a decent cash reserve in our enterprise funds and in our general fund. And once again, really appreciate your work. And I'll go to the public now. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak in favor or have questions in support of this budget? Is there anyone in the public that has any questions or oppositions to this budget? With that, I will ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
I so move.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lopez, a second by Ms. Cordova. Is there any objection to closing the public hearing? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. I'd like the record to reflect that all those present voted in the affirmative to do that. Now then, we're to action by the council on final FY 2025 budget adoption and approval of resolution 2024-23. Does anybody on the council have any questions or discussion regarding this budget?
I have a question. I don't know if it pertains to anything, but the reimbursement, are you up to date on it already?
I'm sorry.
The reimbursement from the state or?
No,
and-
that's not included. The expenditure is because if we have already expended through FY 24, June 30th, the expenditure is listed on there. Now, if there's more expenditures that will need to happen in FY 25, that's the rollover that we need to capture and budget for.
Thank you.
Any other?
I have one question. When you say you're gonna visit with the departments, is that to discuss expansion into the budget, like for example, swimming pool? And are you gonna visit the park department and ask them, do they have any outline or any plan to open and operate a swimming pool next year?
So not specifically to a swimming pool, but I will have to get with each department head to capture what grant we have fully executed agreements for. So we're only going to budget with what we have confirmed that we have gotten the money for, the grant or loan, whatever it may need to be, but it needs to be a fully executed agreement. So if we have an executed agreement that we have a grant or something coming in for funding for a swimming pool, then we would budget for that.
Okay.
So Mr. Lopez, or Mr. Robinson, I think that's another project, not necessarily a budget item at this time,
Okay,
okay? But it is a project that we'll meet about.
okay.
And I do like that you are just putting executed agreements in there because sometimes that gets confusing for not only us, but for the community to see that there's
Yes.
money in there and we don't have an executed agreement for, and we don't have those funds for, it's
Yes.
just like in our ICIP portion of it.
Yes, that is correct. I have found where we were denied a significant amount but it had been budgeted. And, you know, with all these changes in personnel, someone behind me may not know that and let the department head, you do have those funds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you for doing it that way.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I would also like to say, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Merrick.
It kind of pertains to this, but like on the 90-10 grant that we'd be receiving from the Water Trust Board, is there a schedule of when that 10% starts repayment? Is it several years down the line? Is it after it's all paid up, or how is that?
From what I understood earlier, that sounded like it was going to be a match.
It is a match. It's a 10% match. It's not a loan. So at some, and it's my understanding, I don't know this for a fact, but sometimes matches are in kind as well. So Like in other words,
The
if there's,
match on the skate park where
yeah,
the parks staff did a lot of the work to accommodate that match.
you know, there's a certain value that if we use our equipment or we use our labor, that can figure into what the required match is. So. I don't know that answers your question. But,
Yeah,
so. The only other comment I'd like to make, and I meant to make it earlier, was again, you know, Ms. Rivera has put in a lot of hours. I imagine she's gonna take a deep breath when this item's taken care of and she gets it submitted to DFA. But I will say that when the governor was here with the cabinet, that the cabinet secretary and the director and deputy director of local government division met with myself and Ms. Rivera. And, you know, we kind of told them how we're going to have to go about this, because they were aware of some of our problems, because there was difficulty in the Q3 and Q2 quarter or those reports. But they're on board and they have the utmost confidence in Ms. Rivera that we're going to be okay. And I do too. So, and I think all of us do. So with that, as there's no further questions, I'll take a motion for action on the final FY25 budget and approval of the resolution.
This was also recommended at finance. I would like to make a motion to approve, but before that, again, I want to thank Liliana, Ms. Rivera, her staff. That has helped not only with this. I know that there was another issue with payroll that you guys worked extensive hours for, not for all your team. And also one other person that we cannot forget is Javier, because he, in the interim, he came in to help to make some of this a little bit easier for when Ms. Rivera came in. So we appreciate everybody's work towards this. And with that, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion to approve the FY25 budget and the approval of resolution 2423. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Swope, please call the roll.
Yes. Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick.
Yes.
And Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
Ms. Rivera, thank you for all your effort and congratulations.
Thank you.
Our last item for action is approval of fiscal year 24-25 fire protection grant application, maximum award for apparatus $600,000. Apparatus application is for a new 4x5 pump and roll Class A pumper. Chief Kathy.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you know, our fleet is getting older every day and its costs continue to ravage our budgets, fire fund and EMS fund, as well as general fund. Our staff at the fire department came up with a decision to try to purchase another Class A pumper so that we can roll our 1978 Hendrickson into our reserve fleet. The total cost for the fully equipped is around $624,000. So the $600,000 would be a huge start, and then fire fund rollover should accommodate any additional cost to purchase this engine if awarded the funding.
So all we're approving today is the application.
The signatures, I believe the signatures for me and the finance director on the application. Yes, sir.
Any questions for Chief Kathy? What's the pleasure of the council?
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Cordova, second by Mr. Self for approval for the fire fund application for the new pump and roll pumper. Ms. Swope, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
yes.
and Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
Okay, that concludes our action items on our agenda. Our next item is city council and staff comment. I'll start with staff. I'll start in the very back. Anybody on the back row? Mr. Dorr, anybody on your row? Mr. Kathy.
I'm not sure if everyone received the email that I forwarded from Mr. Chavez, of all the progress his department has been making. But they've been knocking it out of the park, just like our finance team, just like our clerks, just like our police department, just like all our city staff. And so I'd just like to compliment everybody's hard work over the last few months.
That's it. Mr. Merrick, I'll start with you.
Well, the reason I'm not at the meeting is I am in Washington, DC. Trying to secure more funding for our Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority. We received a big chunk of money during the infrastructure bill, but that is scheduled to run out in a couple of years, and we've gotten smaller increments since our big influx of money to get a lot of the projects going. So we came up to Washington to make sure that we're still putting a presence in front of our legislators from New Mexico and the Office of Management and Budget, and also Department of Reclamation. So just keeping them updated on our progress. Orlando has done a fabulous job running this project, and everything has been coming in on budget or under budget, and we've had hardly any change orders on most of the progress, so everything has been running very smoothly. But we need to make sure that we continue to get the funding to follow through and make sure this project is fulfilled. So that's part of why a group of 4 of us came up to do some lobbying up here. So hopefully this will all pay off in the future, and we'll have more water assurance in the future. I did want to address a problem that I'm seeing. I know Steve and them are understaffed and really having to work a lot on different things, but our drainage ditch going south from 18th Street is becoming so overgrown in elm trees. We're going to have to figure out some way of getting in there and cutting those things down, clearing them off, poisoning the stumps. I know it's not a good process to go in there and try to poison them now because you get all the neighbors, but we've got to get something done on that drainage ditch. And hopefully we can get something started on that.
Yeah.
I was also going to ask on, I know EPCOR has been here doing some tours. They have received all the information that we sent them. Kind of been in contact with Daniel. He said everything's been going fairly smooth. So I just was going to ask the chief about an update on that as far as he knows.
Chris Mendoza sent out a pretty good summary. I did reach out to EPCOR this morning, and I haven't received any information back on a projected timeline of receiving their assessment.
Okay. Also wanted to mention again, I think it was mentioned last meeting, but there's a water summit meeting this Friday from 8 till 4 in Clovis at the is it the Civic Center, Mike?
Yes.
Yes. So I don't know if the deadline's already passed on joining up for that, but I think there'll be a lot of good information there if you can attend. So. And that's all I had.
All right. Thank you. Keep up the good work up there. Try to stay out of trouble.
Okay.
Mr. Lopez.
I'm gonna have to give Steve ups on him and his crew up there in the west of town, you know, where university that big dish, that drain dish that runs up to the university golf course. This last time that we had the 2.25 inches, Steve had gone out there and done some work on that dish. And when the rain was over, he didn't take it an hour or so just for that thing to drain out. And before, all them streets back there were holding water for 3 or 4 days or more. But the people there are happy with that now. Even his crew are doing a really good job. That's all I have.
So,
All right, Mr. Rivera and the finance team, thanks again for all your hard work. It's very nice to see a budget and kind of where we're at and where we want to go, but it's nice to get that cleaned up. So thank you for all your hard work. I want to brag on the RCCDC. We had a basketball tournament and a pickleball tournament this past weekend. It was a big success. We guesstimating about 750 people, attendees, showed up to watch their kids. Most of the kids, we had age group all the way up to 15-year-olds. So it was a big hit. And then most of the adults played the pickleball, but we had food trucks, basketball goals kind of spread out. So it was, I want to say thanks to ENMU for letting us use their facility. Asked a lot of people who want to make it an annual event, and all the money raised will go back to economic development to further pursue economic stimulation of the economy, local economy. So great job to Jody Diaz as well. She worked her tail off trying to coordinate that event. Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Robbins.
I'd like to say, Mr. Mayor, that it seemed to be a strong current going around the community of people appreciating what is being done by the staff. And the staff need to walk around with their heads high, because I think there's a lot of people appreciating all of the effort, knowing what you're working under. And I appreciate you all myself.
Thank you. Ms. Quarterman?
I just have, I have a question on weeds. Right there on Line and the Bethel Highway, Main Street, to the Bethel Highway. There's, I think they're like 8 feet tall, so whenever you come up to that stop sign, if there's a vehicle right there, you can't see the oncoming traffic. I know that it's an abandoned property, but I just don't know if we can just, clear that little, maybe stop sign, just the pole right there, because it is gonna become a dangerous hazard.
I'll get with Steve and see what we can do on the city's portion and work with code enforcement to try to get the property done as well.
Okay, yeah. Okay, appreciate that. And then, I did have someone come up to me and just, wants to really think of when we're doing, City Hall, and if there's any turf that's going to be there, to really consider what we're going to do as far as xeriscaping City Hall. Because, turf is a little bit hard to clean up. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of that and just keep that on our minds for when we move forward with any projects there at City Hall. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Some of you may have heard this, I want to make it more public. As you all know, when the governor was here with her cabinet, and in the town hall, there was a lot of commitments made by the governor with regard to some of the issues that were brought up. The next day I sent a text to the governor, thanking her for being here and saying that, I'd like to further discuss those issues at her convenience, but sooner than later. And move forward, because one of the comments was that we need to follow up with that. I will say that I was in attendance when the governor signed the proclamation for the special session. At her request, she asked that I come and sit there, me and 3 other mayors, Mayor from Albuquerque, Mayor from Las Cruces, and the Mayor from Red River. I don't know who else she asked, but that's who was in attendance. But between then and now, Diego Ancon, who is a deputy chief of staff, I've been in contact with him 3 different times. In fact, at lunch today, with regard to the dumpsters that she talked about at the town hall. We got them some information on how many dumpsters we needed, what size of the dumpsters that we needed. And today, he asked that we confirm the pricing on those dumpsters and the specifications on how many 3-yard, 4-yard. And I think Mr. Chavez is working on that, just, to make sure we got the correct information. And he indicated to me, as soon as they get the information, they'll get us the money, and we're gonna replace 900 dumpsters with that. So it's not done yet. It's not done yet, but the ball's rolling, and we were told that will happen as soon as we finish getting all the rest of that in. And then we'll follow up on the rest of the things that she talked about. But this one was probably one of the, I shouldn't say easier, but this is the one that she really made the commitment on, and I appreciate her following through with it, and we're trying to follow through on our part. You know what? That's all I got too. So with that, our next item, and hopefully it won't take very long, is actually to convene in a closed session to discuss matters as provided for under New Mexico statutes relating to limited personnel matters, RE interim city manager position. So I will take a motion to convene or to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Cordova, second by Mr. Lopez to enter into closed session. Swopes, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
Okay, this time we will enter into closed session. We will be back. Okay, I need a motion to convene into open session.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Self, second by Mr. Robinson. Is there any objection to coming back into open session? Seeing none, let the record reflect that everyone voted in the positive. So only those items that were discussed in the motion to go into closed session were discussed. And we do need action.
I make a motion that we extend the interim city manager's position through August 31st, 2024 at the current conditions, with the provision that if we do hire someone through that time, he stays on as counsel for the new interim, for the new city manager
Through the 31st.
through the 31st.
Second.
Okay, does everybody understand the motion? Chief, do you understand the motion? I think so, sir. Okay. Is there any further discussion? Okay, Ms. Wilkes, will you call the roll?
Certainly. Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. You're stuck with us for one more month, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Honestly, for a little while longer than that, but.
Well, I mean, it's this. Yeah, I get you. I get you. So, well, I guess that concludes our business for the day. So we stand adjourned.